Hello and welcome back to another video with me, Elizabeth Bishop, your Autodesk Certified Instructor. This video is first in a series of simulation videos that will explain all the simulation types in Fusion and how to use them, including the new results interface that was recently released. In this video, we're going to go through how to set up, solve and understand the results of a static stress simulation in Fusion. We can use Finite Element Analysis to simulate stresses that might be applied onto our parts before you make them. And you can do this on both single components or multi-body designs and assemblies. We'll have a look at the results of these, including the displacement and stresses because of the loads applied to the model. So the first thing we need to do is move from our design workspace, which we've been working in, into our simulation workspace by using the drop down here. Once we're in our simulation workspace, we're going to select static stress to create our study. If you want to, you can set up the options first by clicking on the settings button here, but we'll come back to these later in the video. So we're going to select our study type as static stress and click create study. When we're solving a simulation, we need to simplify the components and isolate what we actually want to solve. In order to do this, we need to suppress and remove these in our simplify model. We can toggle the visibility of components here, but this doesn't actually remove them from our study type. So starting off, we'll go into simplify, and then we want to select the components that we don't want to include in our study and remove these from the model for the purpose of the simulation. There's two different ways you could do this. You can click on them and then start selecting remove, or in this case, we want to just select a few components that are going to be involved in the study. So I'm going to select these ones first. A good point here is to look at your selection filters. I want to select component priority, which means I can click on particular components and select these. So I want this part here, the blade holder, and I want to grab these two blocks here that hold that blade holder. So I'm just using the control key to select multiple components there. So I've got my three components selected. I'm going to right click and I'm going to remove all except the selected components. And this gives us the three components here. Next up is to select the materials we want for our study. So we're going to move from left to right along the top. So we're going to go into our materials and we can see there we've got our three components. Now Fusion will automatically pull through your study material from the design workspace. So if you want to test that material as you've set that up in there, you can leave this as save as model. If you want to change this to a different material, say you wanted to investigate different steels, for example, you can scroll down the Fusion library and select one of the other materials. When selecting your materials, you may notice that it has a yellow warning triangle alongside the material like this. These materials are not suitable for this particular type of study, and you may need to consider a different study type if you're looking to test these materials. A lot of these are anisotropic materials, such as woods, which have different properties along different axes of the material. If you want to check the properties of the material you're using, you can select properties, and this will show us our properties of that particular material. And in terms of our safety factor, so what we're testing up to, we can do this either as the yield strength, so the point at which the material will yield past its elastic limit, or we can go for its ultimate tensile strength, so the maximum load that part can take. Next up, we'd be looking at our constraints. So we need to set in our simulation the points that are going to be static during the calculations. So you've got different constraint types, so we can do fixed, pin, frictionless, prescribed displacement and remote. I'm going to use a fixed constraint in this case. I'm going to fix this particular pinhole here and the bottom of the two sliding blocks, and leave those as constrained in all axes so they can't move. If you need to edit any of your constraints that you've set up, you can either click on the symbol in the window, or you can go into the browser tree, under constraints, you can click the pencil to edit your constraints and that reopens the box there. Next up is our loads. So we want to add a structural load to our simulation. So this is going to tell the software what loads are being applied to the component. So I'm going to select a load there And I'm going to put this onto the cylindrical face here to simulate the blade pushing on this point. And I want to rotate this load round to 90 degrees. So you can either use the grab handles or you can type in the number. You can also change this to normal, setting the angle, or via vector. In this case, we're just going to add a force load, but you can also add any of these other types of loads. So pressure, moment, bearing load, remote force, hydrostatic pressure, and remote moment. We'll add a simple force for this one. We can then set the magnitude of this. So I'm going to apply a magnitude of 130 newtons. And you can change the units if you need to. Say you needed to do this in pound forces. You can also set up your units using the document settings, and you can set up custom units for what you typically want to always use in your studies. Once you've got your setup ready, you can click OK, and that adds the load in. We want to check our degrees of freedom to ensure we are constraining everything correctly, and we can do this on the display settings. So going on to the degree of freedom setting, we can see that all three of the components we're looking to test are fully constrained. These different colours will show you if there's anything not constrained. When simulating the behaviour of two or more components in an assembly under load conditions, you may need to define a contact to describe the interface between them, and thereby cause the bodies to interact appropriately. Without a defined contact, the bodies could pass through each other during the simulation. Contact conditions can be applied to the simulation automatically or manually. You can do this using the Contacts tool up here. If you apply automatic contacts, it will ask you what detection tolerance you'd like between the two components you'd like to apply contacts, and you can generate these automatically. Generating an automatic contact will generate a permanent bond or bonded contact type. This means the two bodies act as if they're permanently bonded together and can't separate from each other. In this case, I want the blade to be able to move through these restraining blocks. So I'm going to go into my contacts and manage contacts. You can see we've got that bonded and symmetric type there. I'm going to change these to a separation type. Separation type is very commonly used, and it means the components aren't fixed together but still experience friction during movement, and the component surfaces could separate if the part deformation resulted in that. Once I've set them all as required, I can click OK. Different contact types can result in various different simulations, and I'm not going to go into the detail of that in this video. Next up, we want to set our thresholds if we know what these are. Heading into safety factor thresholds, we can set our upper and lower targets of safety factors, which will help us in our guided study results. I'll leave these as 4 and 2 on this setting. Another thing I like to do before solving the model is check out the mesh of this. A mesh in a simulation is the points at which all of the calculations will be made for the particular study. To go from your model view to your mesh view, you can click on this button. If you've not already generated your mesh, it will pop up with a box asking you to generate the mesh. You can use this to check if the mesh settings are appropriate, and if not, you can head into mesh here next to the edit button, and you can change those mesh settings. So you can set this on a model base size, or you can set an absolute size. There's also further advanced settings if you'd like to explore those in more detail. Once you've done this, it's always worth going on the pre-check to check that you've set up everything you need to for the study. In this case, we've got everything we need, and the study setup has all the information required. I've just set up an extra study here so I can show you what the pre-check looks like if you haven't got everything sorted for your study. This one here, I haven't added any of our structural loads or the constraints, and you can see that this comes up with the errors that the job cannot process because of. What's really good about this prompt is if you've forgotten to add one of these things in, you can click on the prompt here and it will take you into that area. We're then going to head on to solve by clicking solve here, and I'm going to solve this study in the cloud. I've got an extension active to be able to do this. One of the benefits of cloud solving is that we don't need to sit here and wait for the study to solve. So whilst this is in the cloud, I can close down the status bar and I can get on with other aspects, either going back to the design workspace or setting up further studies. If you're wanting to test multiple materials or set things up in similar ways, I can clone that study. It's got the same setup as the first one, and we could head into, say, the materials section, and we could change, say, the guide box to be a high strength aluminium alloy. Doing that, we can click OK. All of the loads on this are the same as the first study we had, but if we did want to edit them, you can do that by clicking on the pencil there and changing the settings if you need to. Again, this study is set up and ready to go, and we can hit solve and send that into the cloud. If you ever need to check on the simulation status of one you've already sent to the cloud, you can head up into the job status bar, click on that, and you can see how far through the study has progressed. Once the study has solved, you will get a notification about this in the notification center up here. Make sure you've got the right study activated. The one with the green tick is the one that we've finished. When we head into our results section of the Simulation Workspace, the part will show us this safety factor view. Now this is our guided study results here. And this shows us against that safety factor that we set at the beginning. So we said we were aiming for a safety factor of 2 to 4. And we can see here that this part is actually very strong for that particular safety factor and that we have no issues with this. We can read our guided results summary here. So it says it's very strong and that our minimum safety factor for this particular part is 18.107. So there could be some opportunity in this design to reduce the volume of the material and therefore maybe the cost of this design. What I've done here is set up a couple of different studies so that you can see what the results look like in the guided results view when we have our different results, whether they're in those safety factors that we've set or not. So that first study that we solved was very strong and it was well above our minimum safety factor. And we've got these next steps of what to do to possibly change that part. The second study I've set up is one that shows it within that safety factor. I edited the safety factor to be between 2 and 6 for this particular material. And for our meets safety factor target, it just says to make sure you check that your loads are not set too low and that your scale is correct. Now, if you have a case where your part is not strong enough, then the guided results will show you the areas where this part is not strong enough. And if you want to be able to view that a bit more easily, you can deselect the in range and not range and try and look for that red area. It looks like this part is very close to being within target, and we can see the safety factor is at 1.8 with our target of being 2. The next steps then show what sort of steps you could take to set this into something that would be suitable for your part. And one of those things is to check your mesh refinement. I mentioned earlier in this video about your mesh settings and how in the areas you're particularly interested for the study, you may want to consider a finer mesh. You may have noticed that this 2D plots is greyed out. This is to do with if we are to set up a different type of mesh setting for our study. So if I view the mesh for this particular study, we can see that we have these bigger parts here and these smaller parts here. Now there is a setting that you can do under Manage and Adaptive Mesh Refinement, and this is to add in level of mesh refinement into your study. And you can go for none, low, medium, high, or even a custom mesh refinement there. This type of study will take longer to solve. There's more computational power involved in this, and it's something called a mesh refinement study, where the study will solve on one set of mesh settings and then we'll make the mesh smaller and resolve the study on those settings. So I'll show you what that looks like when you have that solved. So I'm just going to click OK on that and then resolve my study. So you can see I have that warning saying this study is out of date. So if we head back into the results of that study with the adaptive mesh refinement, we can still see that the part is not strong enough, but we now have this convergent plot available to us. And we can see here that this is the number of solutions that the study was able to do before it converged on the final result. And you can look at this based on the von Mises stress, the displacement, or your first or third principal stresses. So that there is what the 2D plots button does up here at the top, and that's how you can view your convergent plots when you're using an adaptive mesh refinement. To view the rest of our results, we're going to move from the guided results into our results tab. And this is where we can change from aspects such as safety factor through to viewing our stress, displacement, reaction force, strain, contact pressure, and contact force. We can also animate our results. So this is showing our von Mises stress here. And if we want to animate how this stress is applied over the part of the study, we can do this in the bottom bar at the moment. So we can see as that moves through the study on that back and forth animation, it shows where the stress is being applied on that part. If we change this to displacement, we can look at the total displacement in the part. And again, through that animation, it shows us, due to this particular force that we applied, where the displacement is going to happen. Now, if we have a look at the numbers here, we can actually see that this is a very small displacement. But in our model, the part looks like it's going to be displaced very far. And this is because of our deformation scale. So at the moment we have this on an adjusted deformation scale, but we can put this to an actual deformation scale. So if we animate that in an actual deformation, we can see the numbers are changing as we animate that. We can use our bar here and slide these up to look at our range of interest. So say we are only interested in where the deformation is largest, we can use that color animation to view our results there. And again, we can look at any of the different results. So our strain, and we can see where the strain is highest in this part. We can look at contact pressure. So where those parts are contacting each other, we can see the pressure in those areas is bigger. And again, for the contact force is going to be larger. Heading back to our stress, there are a number of other inspection tools that we can use in our results space. So under the inspection, we can add probes for our minimum and maximum points. We can use a point probe to look at a particular point on the part and view the stress at that particular point. We can also do a surface probe, so moving over the surface, so any part on the surface there. We can also create a cutting plane. So say we're interested in the stress throughout the part. We can add in this cutting plane. So whether a section or a slice of the part. So a slice would just show us the slice along that area there. Pop that back to section and we can select if we want that to show us our mesh or our vectors and click finish. So with that cutting plane in there, we can use that point probe to find the stress in the middle of the part there, and we can bring that to the area that we are interested in to see any effects that might be happening inside the part that we might not be able to see. There are a few other tools you can use, such as showing the center of mass and the reactions. You can also generate a report for this. Once your report has opened in your browser, we can head through the report and find out various aspects about the study you've set up, including the load cases, where the forces have been applied, and then there are those results, including the guided results, with some suggestions of what you can do from that, and you can share these reports with others from your team. So I hope you found this introduction to static linear stress simulations useful. If you've got any comments, please do post them in the comments section below. And if you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next one.